Okay, so just recently, I saw a video by Mr. Matty, and his channel Matty Plays, that was done a while back. I actually had just seen this video now, but I thought I would respond, even though it's been done. It was done several weeks ago. I thought I'd respond to it anyway. And he asked this question: um, adult mods. Why do people use them? Oh dear, Maddie. Maddie. You really want to go down this particular deviant rabbit hole then? Well, okay. I will endeavor to be Virgil to your Dante, but I'm just going to warn you. If you don't like the way this is going, you don't like the way this is going, well, I did warn you. So, okay. Now, I can't speak for the entire community. I can only speak for myself, and hopefully this explanation, maybe some of the other people in the community feel the same way, and I hope this explanation satisfies Maddie as well as a few others out there in the community. I'm going to do this the best I can. I'm not actually going to record on a script or anything. I'm just kind of doing this as I ramble. So, okay. I do use what Maddie says as far as adult mods. I think he is referring to specifically nude mods, the kinds of mods you find on Nexus, not the more, shall we say, elaborate adult mods that you can find on such fine sites as Lovers Lab. That's right, folks, Lovers Lab for all your kinky deeds. No, I think he's talking about nude mods. Now, I do use nude mods. I use nude mods for both males and females. I'm not as crazy about male nudity, but I figure that if I'm going to go the nude route, then I should go the whole HBO Showtime, cable package deal. It's only fair if I've got one gender, that has nudity in it, then I should also have it for the other gender. I use, I believe, UNPB or a variation of UNP for the females, and I believe a mod called a variation of SunderCon for the males. And I'm actually using them in this playthrough that I'm playing. Now, no, you're not going to see it. I don't want to, violate YouTube's user agreements, terms and agreements. Although, to be frank, YouTube probably isn't going to care unless I start monetizing this. And maybe one of these days this video will get enough, viewings to monetize. God, I'm so alone. Well, anyway, why do I use these particular mods? Well, first off, let's just kind of get this out of the way. I like breasts. Why do I like them? I don't know. As the comedian Mitch Vitale said, I don't know why I like them. They don't really do anything. They just bounce up and down and make me happy. End of story as far as that goes. But that aside, let's talk about some other things and why I use nude mods. Now, Maddie said something very interesting, I think, in his video. And I don't mean to pick Maddie's statement apart, and God knows people are going to pick my statements apart, and I hate to do this to Maddie, and I don't mean to single Maddie out or attack him, but he said something along the lines of talking about Witcher, nudity in video games and Witcher, and earning the nudity and earning your sexy scenes. To pull a Jim Sterling, I don't think we should. I think that's an unfortunate side effect of playing video games, and I don't think that was CD Projekt Realm's Red's intention when they brought that in there. In fact, if you play The Witcher 2, you see Triss naked, like Marigold's naked, in like the first 10 minutes of the game. It's just there, and I think that's what they were trying to attempt, and I think that's the best way to go about it. I don't like this idea of earning somehow. This is something you're entitled to. You have to earn this. Earn this sexy cutscene or whatever. Or earn this nudity. I think it should be just something that should be acknowledged in a game. That nudity is there. And, deal with it. Or not. Or don't play the game. Or, put on a sensor mode or whatever. And I mean, look at this game. Look at what I'm doing right now. We as a culture acknowledge violence in games all the time. I mean, sure, there's some like fancy death animations and stuff like that for more glorious kills, but right here, I'm just mowing down mages, willy nilly with no with abandon. I'm killing people, and I'm just accepting that in the game and moving on. Why can't we do the same with something like nudity? I mean, this is an M-rated game, okay? Uh, there's this was labeled M-rated. There's nothing in here that's you could probably get, but you've got violence in there, so why not the nudity? I so there's that, and I think, like I said, I think nudity is just something that should be acknowledged and not a reward to players. Very much like sex or how a relationship works. It's just something you'd acknowledge. Like Witcher 2, also bringing that back up. Beginning of Witcher 2, you didn't earn a romance with Triss Merigold. Geralt and Triss were an item already. Right at the very beginning of the game, they were a romantic couple. There was a romance already there. It was established within the first 5 minutes of that game. You didn't earn it. I thought that was a very great way to approach it. Now, I'm not knocking games like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, or because where you're just complete strangers to somebody and you're trying to learn about them. But I don't think it's something that I don't see it as a reward. It shouldn't be something as a reward. That's something you're entitled to. So there's that. Other reasons why I play with nude mods. Well, there's this nostalgia factor. Now, I know that's going to sound kind of weird to a lot of you younger players like Maddie. But before, I mean, a lot of you probably got into these games around Morrowind, I'm thinking, maybe Oblivion. Okay, well, before the days of ZeniMax, back in the 90s, Bethesda, and before even Todd Howard was kind of the god of the core Bethesda, studios, there was another man by the name of Julian LeFay who ran Daggerfall. Now, Julian LeFay is one of those guys who pioneered the Elder Scrolls series and kind of had this vision for a game where you could do whatever you wanted. And that vision is still very much alive. Todd Howard has done an excellent job of keeping that vision alive throughout the various games. Now, Julian LeFay is a Danish gentleman, very liberal when it comes to nudity. In fact, when he took charge in Daggerfall, the nudity was just there. In fact, I stumbled on the nudity by accident my first time playing a demo of the game. Funny story behind that, not going to get into it right now, maybe in a later video. But anyway, nudity was in the game. It was low-res, pixelated paper doll nudity, but it was still there. That was still kind of shocking back then. And it was just something that was in that game. And when Julian LeFay left the company, they became a little more conservative, and they decided to remove that in games like Morrowind. And it's kind of like, when you play a sequel to a game, and they remove the feature from the last game. And you're like, I really kind of want that feature back. I missed that feature of that last game. And that's kind of why, one of the reasons I do it, is because it's just a feature that was there. I was comfortable with it in Daggerfall, and I kind of wanted it back. So that's just one of the other reasons I do it. Now, a third reason is this goes all the way back to Morrowind. Bethesda does very wonderful scenery. I mean, just beautiful vistas. Just they draw you into their world. Just when you step outside or something like that, or you step out into that world, you see that world before you, and and the graphics are just so beautiful, and you want to explore it. And they do a very good job when it comes to environments. Even when I had glitches in Fallout 4, for examples, way of doing things that Fallout 4, when it dropped down to low res, you want to explore that world. But they haven't really done a very good job with character models. They just look bad. Going all the way back to Morrowind, I think somebody once described the Morrowind character models as they look like wadded bits of of dried beef jerky stuck together. Uh, Now, back in when Morrowind came out, it was actually they were still working with lower resolution polygons, still coming out of that infancy. This was prior to the Xbox, really revving it up with the Xbox and the PlayStation 2, and, well, to a certain extent, the Dreamcast, where we start to see smoother polygons and whatnot. But so when they actually started making the game, they were working with lower res graphics to the point where when they actually started releasing the game, we actually started to see high res graphics. And one of the things that came out, one of the first nude mods, well, one of the later nude mods, was something called Better Bodies, which was matched with Better Heads. And it did exactly what it says on the tin. It replaced all those ugly looking, beef jerky bodies with smoother, better looking bodies and better looking heads. And you felt like you were actually playing an Xbox 360 game on your PC or a PS2 game with those kinds of graphics. It looked fantastic. And by the way, so going all the way back, modders have actually gone back and looked at bodies and tried to fix them and make them look better. And this has been something that was ongoing. Now, Skyrim had decent looking bodies. The female ones, although, had some seam issues, especially on the PS3, but for the most part, what modders typically do is they go back and they not just the boobs, they don't just tack boobs on there, okay? We're not just looking at boobs, we're looking at the entire package and trying to improve on it. And in fact, if you don't even if you don't like nudity, I think you could appreciate those particular mods like CBBE, that's the more popular one out there now. Because what it does is it replaces the ugly vanilla bodies with better looking bodies. And you can get non-nude versions of those particular bodies if nudity is not your thing. But you can still appreciate the work that's been put into them. I think, in fact, if you go and look at one of Gopher's videos, he talks about Body Slide in CBBE for Fallout, and how you can use an underwear mod if that's what you want to do. And that's another reason I use nude mods. I don't like the bodies, the default bodies, and I want them to look better. So that's one of the other reasons. Okay, so there's the third reason. And the last reason is that I don't use nude mods for every game. But for Bethesda games, I make an exception. Partially because of the above, and partially because they are actually very easy and safe to install. Most of them don't use what was called an ESRB or ERB, or what the heck is that particular God, my mind is now just kind of running a blank on that particular type of data file. Hold on a second. They don't use... What the hell do they not use? Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to figure out what the name of those particular files are. I know. Totally professional right now, am I? They don't use... what are those things called? EMB files, I believe, is what they're called. or yeah, they don't use the plug-in data files that Bethesda uses. What they do use, most of them don't. What they simply, what nude textures basically do, or the body replacers basically do, is all they do is they replace mesh files and certain texture files within your data, your data directory. And they just add those to a new data directory because most of these games are pretty much archived as far as most of the data is pretty much packed into archive files. But what it does is that it makes files and it adds them to. I'm being very technical and I'm rambling as I say this, but basically all it does is it adds a couple of files for your game to reference that substitute the files that are in the library. It's actually very safe. It doesn't use the Bethesda plugin files, which means you can't, you're not going to suffer from having that plugin file removed from your saved game and causing save bloating and whatnot. So it's simply a graphics replacer is all it does. In fact, you can take, if you decide you want to use a new body or you want to just take them out entirely and go with vanilla for whatever reason, you could pull those files out of, you can remove those files and your game will run perfectly fine. Your save game will not be corrupted. And yeah, basically it's convenient. And with things like the Nexus mod manager, with the Fallout mod manager, with things like Rybash, it's very easy just to install a nude mod. Because all you need is a file with a mesh and a texture. And most of those particular mods, they provide that for you. Because the way Bethesda does it is that their mesh libraries are all open. And that's something that's the key right there. A lot of companies don't open up all of, or allow you to look at all of their files. I believe that Volition at one time said they were going to open up mesh files, and they never got around to it. But Bethesda is one of the few companies that actually does that. And that's actually a good thing because giving modders access to mesh files isn't just for bodies, it's also for things like weapons. So if you don't like the way a weapon looks, you can go and find a mod that replaces the way the weapon looks. That just finds a mesh file and a texture file for that weapon. And as a matter of fact, there's quite a few of them out there for Skyrim. Not as many out there for Fallout right now, and I think that has to do with the various stocks and scopes and things like that you can find in the game to mod your gun, and I think they would have to change all of that stuff around to make it work, and it's very complicated because of that. But yeah, pretty easy to find a weapon mod, for example, or a replacer, and it's just like that. You plug in a nude mod, and it and that's the way it works. It's very simple. I know I'm rambling here, but trust me, it's simple, it's safe, it's probably some of the safest stuff you could do when modding your game. It doesn't, change any real major aspect of the game. Like, it doesn't add something, it doesn't add scripts or try to add something new into the game that the game wasn't designed to have. Now, you could add physics, and that is something new. And it's a little trickier to add, but I've never had any problems with adding physics to games. There's a couple of extra steps, but I've never had it corrupt my game either. So they're fairly safe. They're very simple, especially if you're using a mod manager, to install or uninstall if you decide you don't want to use them anymore and you just want to experiment with them. Okay, so to sum up, basically, I do this for my principles, for aesthetic reasons, and because of nostalgic reasons, and because it's actually easy and simple to do. If it was any other game, I wouldn't probably make as much effort to try to do this. Because other games you have to have advanced steps, and it's really not worth it. But Bethesda games, it's pretty easy to do. So I actually did want to kind of end this on a final note and kind of talk about something about the community. And one of the things I actually also wanted to talk about, just to end this on this note, I talked about male nudity earlier. Now that is something we don't actually see uh, in gaming right now. Austin, in fact, did a whole video about Gerald's dick in in on the Shoddy Cast. You could go look it up. In fact, I'll probably post it down in the link below. But he brought up a very good point. We don't see the male nudity. I mean, we get the sex scenes. We see we see women totally naked, but we don't see the trouser snake. Okay, and there are gamers out there that prefer the penis. They like the penis. They want to see it, as opposed to the boobs. And they're not getting it the from the game developers themselves. And when they do see penis, this is something else that Austin says. Yes, there is penis in game, but when you do see it, it's usually prelude to, in a horror game, to something horrible about to happen. It's not celebrated, it's reviled. And I think that's a shame. I really think that if you were going to go that naked route, then we got to do it on a fair, equal footing. And we got to give other players who want to see that penis, who want to see the penis, that option. And unfortunately, the official developing community, the official game developers, whatnot, they're not doing it. So it's up to modders to step up to that plate. And it's not that easy, as I understand. With female bodies, it's just real in games. All the assets and assets, all the stuff is just there. You just got to change a few things around to make it work. But with males, you've actually got to add the penis in because it's not originally there in the beginning. Okay? It's like a Ken doll, basically. So it's actually extra work for modders to do that. And I actually have to say, I want to, kind of end this mod with thanking modders for allowing, gamers to have that option, like Sundercon, for example, for going and making that effort to do that for people who want that. And, because I believe in an equal footing, I believe in fair, and making things fair. So, all right, I hope that this video kind of helped elaborate and enlighten some people as far as why I use them, and maybe why some of the others in the community uses adult, or shall I say, nude mods as well. And if it didn't, and if you guys just think I'm just rambling and not making much sense, I'm sorry. This is the best I can do. I suppose I could put something a little more professional together, but I thought I would just kind of keep this down low and informal. So hopefully this helps Maddie, this helps some other folks just kind of understand why. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys right now. I'm going to be doing another video eventually and loading that up. No, it's not going to be about adult mods. It'll be about questing mods again for Fallout. So stay tuned for that, and yeah.